A scholar from the USA claimed that the impermissibility of prawns, lobsters and crabs is only in the Hanafi muzhab. Now I responded to this that this kind of generalization is incorrect and this scholar is mistaken, because there is a valid position, a mu'tamad position of the ashab al-tarjih in the Shafi'i muzhab, that lobsters and crabs are haram. And this is a validly disputed issue in the Shafi'i muzhab. There is a mu'tamad position that lobsters and crabs are halal, and there is also a mu'tamad position that lobsters and crabs are haram. So after my response in light of the traditional Shafi'i methodology, I was sent some videos of some Hanafi muftis also claiming that this is only a problem in the Hanafi madhab, and all seafood is halal in all other madhahib. Again, this was a mistake by the Hanafi scholar which was being used against the Hanafi madhab by the La Madhhabiyya, insinuating that the impermissibility of lobsters and crabs, it is an innovation of the Hanafis, and it is something that cannot be substantiated from the Quran and Sunnah. And this is why no mazhab has accepted this position. Hence why I decided to explain this matter in more detail. So firstly, for the awam, I will explain the legal ruling of seafood in the Hanafi madhab. And then inshallah, for the benefit of the students of deen, I will explain the two mu'tamad positions and the reasons why a non-Shafi'i scholar can misunderstand the Shafi'i madhab. So firstly, for the benefit of the awam, remember in the Hanafi madhab, all seafood is haram with the exception of fish. Only fish is halal in the Hanafi madhab. Animals that are born in water and live in water, from all aquatic animals, only fish is halal in the Hanafi madhab. And the species of fish which are harmful, like venomous fish or poisonous fish, is also haram. And the hurma of harmful food is unanimously agreed upon based on the explicit stipulation of the Quran. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah Jalla wa Ala says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. And do not kill yourselves. Indeed, Allah Jalla wa Ala is ever merciful to you. And this is also legislated by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam in the hadith of Sunan ibn Majah, لَا ضَرَرَ وَلَا دِرَارَ. So based on the illah of darar, all harmful, venomous or poisonous fish are also haram. And we should also know that fish is not slaughtered according to the Islamic way of slaughtering, as in the way we slaughter terrestrial animals or land animals. But in order for fish to be halal in the Hanafi madhab, it has to die with some external cause. So remember, the fish that dies a natural death without any external cause and starts to float on the surface of the water is also haram in the Hanafi madhab. A very important point. So in the Hanafi madhab, all seafood is haram with the exception of fish. Now lobsters and crabs do not belong to the fish family. So unanimously in the Hanafi madhab, the consumption of lobsters and crabs is haram. And with regards to prawns and shrimps, there are two valid positions in the Hanafi madhab. Those Hanafi scholars who believe that prawns and shrimps belong to the fish family, according to them, prawns and shrimps are halal because fish is halal. And there are those who took the position that prawns are not from the fish family. They are crustaceans, so according to them, prawns are haram. And this is a valid difference of opinion amongst the Hanafi ulama, in which they may argue as to what is given preference to determine whether prawns belong to the species of fish or not. Should one consider the modern day zoological research, or lugha should be given preference, or urf is mu'tabar, or the consideration should be given to the language of the Arabs of that time? So there is a ikhtilaf, a difference of opinion amongst the ulama. And now this is an academic scholarly debate. The awam will follow the ulama. A ami, a non-scholar, a common person doesn't have the legal right to admonish or to blame or to criticize those who follow the contrary position, because these are subsidiary issues. These are fiqh matters. These are ikhtilafi masail. If you are a Hanafi and you follow a reliable Hanafi scholar who believes that prawns are halal, then you will not be sinful for consuming prawns. And no one can admonish you, no one can criticize you. Yes, you can be advised that there is more reward in you not consuming prawns and shrimps in order to avoid the ikhtilaf of the ulama and respecting the position of those who believe that the consumption of prawns and shrimps is haram. And in this situation, the most that can be said is that they are makruh tanzihi, disliked or undesirable for that person in the Islamic law, but they won't be haram. This person won't be sinful. And if you follow the position of a reliable Hanafi scholar who believes that prawns and shrimps are not from the fish family and their consumption is haram, then they will be haram for you. But you won't have the right to criticize or to admonish or blame those who believe that prawns are permissible. And remember, they have the right to warn you in order for them to fulfill their duty of al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. So if they follow the position that prawns are halal, and if they see you eating prawns, provided that they have the knowledge that you believe in the hurma, in the impermissibility of consuming prawns, it is an obligation upon them to warn you. It is an obligation upon them to tell you that, brother, this is haram for you. But you won't have the right to admonish them if you find them eating prawns and shrimps. This is the traditional approach of Ahlul Ilm regarding a mas'ala which is mukhtalaf fi, validly disputed issues, even within the mazhab. And I'm not referring to those issues which are based on shaz aqwal or da'if aqwal or aberrant or anomalous positions. This usul is applied in those issues in which there is a valid difference of opinion amongst the scholars. So in summary, regarding seafood, the criterion in the Hanafi mazhab is fish. Whatever belongs to the species of fish is halal. So lobsters and crabs do not belong to the fish family. So they are unanimously haram in the Hanafi mazhab. If you are a Hanafi, then it's impermissible for you to consume lobsters. And it is also haram to consume harmful, venomous or poisonous fish, and this hurma is in all the four muzahib. And in the Hanafi madhab, the fish that dies a natural death without any external cause and starts to float on the surface of the water is also haram. And as I have explained in detail regarding prawns and shrimps, there is an ikhtilaf within the Hanafi madhab. If you follow the position of the ulama who believe that they do not belong to the fish family and they are haram, then they will be haram for you. And those who believe that they belong to the fish family, prawns will not be haram for them. For instance, the great Imam Ahmad Rida rahimahullah, after extensive research, he came to the conclusion that prawns belong to the fish family. So according to him, prawns are not haram. And he explains this in detail in his Fatawa Razwiyah. In volume 20, page 336, he states that हमारे मज़हब में मछली के सिवा तमाम दरियाई जानवर मुतलकन हराम हैं. तो जिनके ख्याल में झींगा मछली की किस्म से नहीं, उनके नज़दीक हराम हुआ ही चाहिए. मगर फ़कीर ने कुतुब लुग़त व कुतुब तिब व कुतुब इल्म हैवान में बिल इत्तिफ़ाक़ इसकी तसरीह देखी कि वो मछली है. So according to Imam Ahmad Rida rahimahullah, since in our madhab, all aquatic animals, all sea animals are haram with the exception of fish. तो जिनके ख्याल में झींगा मछली की किस्म से नहीं, उनके नज़दीक हराम हुआ ही चाहिए. He says that those who believe that prawns are not from the species of fish, for those Hanafis, prawns will be haram. But then he further elaborates that according to his own extensive research, after going through the books of tib, books of medicine, and the books of zoology, he came to the conclusion that prawns belong to the fish family. Bil ittifaq iski tasrih dekhi ki wo machli hai. But then look at the ihtiyat of the great Imam. Look how cautious the Imam is. After his intensive research, on page 339 he says, बहरहाल ऐसे शुभ इख्तिलाफ से बेज़रूरत बचना ही चाहिए, वल्लाहु ताला आलम. Subhanallah. And responding to another istifta on the same page, page 339, Imam Ahmad Rida rahimahullah says, मुख्तलफ फ़ी है. जो हज़रात इसको मछली की किस्म कहते हैं, हलाल कहते हैं, क्योंकि मछली की तमाम अक़साम हमारे नज़दीक हलाल हैं. और जो हज़रात इसको गैर मछली कहते हैं, वो हराम मानते हैं, क्योंकि मछली के माँ सिवा तमाम आबी जानवर हमारे नज़दीक हराम हैं. ऐसे मसाइल में इज्तिनाब बेहतर है. सुब्हानल्लाह. So even though after his extensive research he came to the conclusion that prawns belong to the fish family, even though they are not haram according to them, but due to the ikhtilaf of the ulama, he believes it is better to avoid them. Subhanallah. And this is the hukm of makruh tanzihi. If you find someone who follows the position of Imam Ahmad Rida rahimahullah, who believes that they are not haram, or if I believe that the consumption of prawns is haram, and if I see someone eating prawns knowing that they believe in its permissibility, do I have the right to admonish them? No. The most that I can say, that since you follow a valid position within the Hanafi mazhab, even though it's not haram for you, but it would be better to avoid the consumption of prawns. Why? Due to the ikhtilaf of the ulama. That is the most that I can say, and these are the matters that would come under the category of kirahat and zihiyya, disliked or undesirable in Islamic law, but not haram. But remember, if he sees me eating prawns, and if I believe that they are haram, and he knows that I believe that they are haram, then I will be sinful, and he has the right to tell me off, brother, what are you doing? This is haram for you. I can't turn around and say, brother, you're eating it yourself. Do you see? because he follows a valid position within the Hanafi madhab. It's halal for him, and he must fulfill his duty of al-amru bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. He must remind me, he must tell me that you're committing a sin. So from this you've understood the unanimous opinion of the Hanafis regarding lobsters and crabs that they are haram, and the ikhtilaf of the ulama regarding prawns and shrimps, and the general ruling within the Hanafi mazhab regarding all kinds of seafood. And we've covered the adab of ikhtilaf. And remember, the adab of ikhtilaf that I have covered, that's not only within the Hanafi mazhab. This is the traditional approach of Ahlul Ilm regarding all validly disputed masail in all the mazahib. This is unanimous. But regarding the hukum shari of seafood, we've only covered the Hanafi mazhab. Now let's move on to the Shafi'i mazhab. Now in the mazhab of al-Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, all types of seafood is halal. But there are some conditions, there is some detail to it. Fish is halal in the Shafi'i mazhab, and prawns and shrimps are also unanimously halal in the Shafi'i mazhab. But regarding those sea animals that can survive out of water, like lobsters and crabs, there are two valid positions in the Shafi'i mazhab. One mu'tamad position is that lobsters and crabs are halal in the Shafi'i mazhab, and the other mu'tamad valid position is that lobsters are haram. And both of these valid positions of the mazhab are the positions of the ashabu tarjih of the Shafi'i mazhab. The position of al-Imam Rafi'i rahimahullah and the position of al-Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, taken from Rawdatu Talibin and Minhaju Talibin. And the other position of al-Imam Nawawi rahimahullah mentioned in his Al-Majmu' Sharh al-Muhazzab. And the preferred positions of the mutaakhirun, the scholars of the later period in the Shafi'i mazhab, al-Imam Shamsuddin Ramli rahimahullah and al-Imam Ibn Hajar Makki rahimahullah, which are taken from their commentaries of Minhaju Talibin, Tuhfatul Muhtaj and Nihayatul Muhtaj. And also the valid position mentioned in Fathul Mu'in of al-Imam Zainuddin as-Saghir. From all of these works of the great ulama of the Shafi'i mazhab, we can clearly establish that there are two valid positions in the Shafi'i mazhab regarding lobsters and crabs. One valid position is that they are haram, and the other is that they are halal. And I will now inshallah prove this in detail in light of the traditional Shafi'i framework and the methodology of the mazhab of the Shawafi, to substantiate my claim that the impermissibility of lobsters and crabs is not an innovation of the Hanafis. And it is not an issue created by the Hanafis only, like some people have claimed. It has a strong foundation in the Quran and the Sunnah, and it is also a valid position, a mu'tamad position within the Shafi'i mazhab. And those who deny this Shafi'i position have no knowledge of the traditional Shafi'i methodology. They may belong to the La Mazhabiyya or even some modern day Shafis who like to introduce themselves as Shafis, but in reality they have nothing to do with the traditional Shafi'i methodology. They like to pick and choose and even follow the akwal, the positions out of the four mazahib. And even those Hanafi scholars who think that lobsters and crabs are only impermissible in the Hanafi mazhab and all other mazahib permit them, they are mistaken. And one main reason behind this mistake is because they ascribe various positions to the other mazahib based on their own Hanafi sources, without studying the books of the other mazahib and without understanding the methodology of the other mazahib. Unintentionally, they are strengthening the case of those who like to criticize the Hanafi mazhab. And I have discussed this previously in detail in my Urdu talks as to how dangerous it is for a scholar belonging to a particular mazhab attributing positions to the other mazahib based on the books of his own mazhab. In order for us to mention a hukum shari from another mazhab, we must have a good understanding of the methodology of the other mazhab. Or we must do istifta, we must ask the ulama of the other mazhab, even though you may be an alim in your own mazhab. I have covered this previously in detail from the books of our traditional scholars, how a person who is a scholar of his own madhab but may be treated as a ami in another madhab. Obviously, he will have more knowledge than the common people of the other mazhab, but relating to certain matters of fiqh, he may be a mufti in his own mazhab, but he may be treated as a ami in another madhab. So now I will explain the mazhab of the Shawafi regarding seafood in general, and also, in light of the traditional methodology of the Shawafi, I will prove that the hurma of lobsters is not an innovation of the Hanafis. And those so-called Shafis who are supporting the La Mazhabiyya against the Hanafis, they themselves do not understand the Shafi methodology.